Hi, this is Jen from Jen's Ink Spot, and I'm so glad you're joining me today. Today I want to share with you how to make these wood slice ornaments. This video is part of the Home for the Holidays Stamp of Approval video hop with Catherine Pooler. We're going to put these Christmas stamps to use and make some ornaments today. I'm going to show you the best way that I found to create these ornaments. This is the one that I really like. It has been painted with white on the bottom, and then I've embossed with gold on top, and it turned out very nicely. So I'm going to be using just plain white acrylic paint, and I'm going to start by preparing my surface by just wiping off the little pieces of dust that might be on there, and then I pour my acrylic paint directly onto my wood slice. It just makes it go easier, and I don't have to worry about cleanup later. I'm just taking a brush that I had laying around. I didn't get anything special, and I'm just going to carefully apply the paint in an even coat along the entire surface of my ornament. And I'm going to do this 3 times. So I'm going to dry it in between layers. I used a fan to just make it speed up a little bit faster. It doesn't take very long to dry. And then I'm just going to continue to apply 3 coats of this paint to my ornament. Once all 3 layers of the white acrylic paint has been applied and dried, now it is time to emboss our design onto the front. I'm going to use a very juicy Versamark ink pad, and if yours is dry, this technique works much better if it's juicy. It just helps the embossing powder to stick better to your wood slice. I'm going to use this snowflake from the Catherine Pooler Christmas Cookie Stamp Set, and I have put a little black dot at the bottom of my snowflake because this is going to show me where the middle is. So if I need to line it up because I didn't get enough ink on it, I'll know exactly where it is. So my top guide is going to be the hole that's drilled into the wood slice. My bottom guide is going to be that black dot that I've put with a Sharpie onto that stamp. So I know exactly where it needs to line up. I'm going to take my embossing buddy, and I am going to run this over the surface of my wood slice so that I don't get random embossing powder stuck in places where I don't want. And then I've chosen a gold glitter embossing powder to use for my snowflake. Again, I'm using a juicy Versamark ink pad, and I'm going to get my stamp well inked, and then I am going to press it exactly where I want it onto my wood slice, and I'm going to press hard. Usually you don't want to press very hard, but you want to make sure that that ink is evenly distributed on your wood slice. When I'm done with that, it's time to emboss. So I'm going to pour my embossing glitter onto my wood slice, and then I'm going to tap off the excess that I don't need, and then it'll be ready to heat set. It does take a little bit longer to heat set than it would if you were just heat setting on a piece of paper. But if you're patient, it produces a very nice, very pretty design. You can see that the design is starting to melt and just produce that beautiful, glittery, raised look that you want for these wood slices. Here it is finished. And again, you can see the detail that it gives once it's completely melted and ready to decorate a present with. Here you can see an example of how I've used this tag on a simple gift package. Next up, we're going to use a very similar process to create a wood slice ornament on black. What I've done here is use 3 layers of black acrylic paint to prepare the surface of this wood ornament. Nothing special, just 3 layers is what's key. I'm going to use this Joy from the Tiny Wishes stamp set from Catherine Pooler. These are the perfect sized images to do these wood slices. It's awesome. Don't forget you need a very juicy Versamark ink pad. That is very key. And you're also going to use, again, your embossing buddy. This kind of gives it a chalkboard look, which I kind of like. It was unintentional when I did that, but I like the way it ended up working. Same process that I did before. I'm going to ink up my stamp in Versamark ink, and then I'm going to press it onto my ornament where I want it. Again, press firmly so that you get a nice, even inked image. This is very important for the embossing powder to be able to stay on your ornament because it is a rough surface. So there you see it is inked up. Now I'm going to use some fine white embossing powder and I'm going to pour it onto the image, and then I'm going to try to get off as many of the flecks as possible. Here you can see the image after it's been embossed, a few little stray strands there that I'm trying to get rid of. And then I'm going to heat emboss it with my heat gun. And again, it takes a little while for it to heat set, a little bit longer than paper. And here's the finished image. I take a little bit of a wet rag to wipe off some of the white powder that was left behind from my embossing buddy. I just do this very gently and it seems to work pretty well. You can leave it all on if you want even more of a chalkboard look to it, but I got off pretty much as possible. Here's the finished image on a package that I decorated using the wood slice ornament. I think it turned out pretty well. Next up, we're going to do the same technique, only this time we are going to emboss not in white, but with a glitter embossing powder. It's the same process that I've shown you before. I'm applying Versamark to my stamp, pressing firmly to get a nice clean image onto my block, and then I'm going to emboss with this glitter embossing powder. The nice thing about this powder is that you don't have to use the embossing buddy. If you don't want that chalkboard look, then use the Wow embossing powder and that will help you to have a clean image. Now we are going to go for a completely different look. You can see here that I stamped this wreath Joy onto my block, and I've prepared the surface for this one that I'm going to demonstrate now totally different. I put 3 coats of the white acrylic paint on it already, and then I coated the top with Mod Podge, and this is a glossy Mod Podge, so it does give a nice gloss effect to it. I'm going to use the stamp set from Catherine Pooler. This one is called Festive Trimming Stamps, and I'm going to create a wreath using these images. I'm going to start by stamping in Lime Ricky ink, and I'm going to decide where I want my greenery to go. I'm going to start at the bottom to help make a nice circle, and I'm just going to continue to stamp one after another. You'll notice as I'm stamping that this ink is much more vibrant on the white because it has that Mod Podge on top. I didn't stamp that one very well, so I'm going to try to go back in and stamp over it. I kind of got it. It wasn't the greatest, but that's what happens when you're on live camera, right? So anyway, I'm going to continue my wreath, and again, you'll notice that the ink is staying on top of the surface more. So if you like the nice, bright, vivid image, this is a great way to do this on the wood slices. Now I'm doing Rock and Red for my red accents. And one other thing to note is that it looks like the ink stays wet, but it really does dry. I didn't try it right away because I didn't want to smear it, but after about 5 minutes, I touched it and it didn't smear when I touched it. So it does dry fairly quickly and leaves your ink nice and bright. I'm going to add the Sentiment Joy in the center, and this stamp set is the holiday mix stamps. I love the sentiments included in that set. So there you go. Again, you can see how bright it is compared to the one that was just stamped on acrylic ink. This one had 3 layers of white acrylic ink, no Mod Podge on top, and you can see how the ink just soaked into that white paint. For this next ornament, I am doing a very similar thing that I did in the last one. I'm using a lighter ink instead of Lime Ricky. I'm using Garden Party, and for this ornament, the way that I've prepared the surface is I first applied Mod Podge, and then I applied 3 layers of white acrylic ink. So the Mod Podge helps the ink not to soak in so much. It keeps it a little bit more vibrant than the first one I stamped without Mod Podge, as you can see here, but it's definitely not as bright as the one that has the Mod Podge on top. So there's the 3 ornaments side by side. The one in the middle is the one I stamped that has the Mod Podge on the bottom, and then the 3 layers of acrylic paint on top. Here is an example where I used the ornament that I just stamped on a package. As you can see, it makes a nice focal point. Thank you so much for joining me on this Home for the Holidays Stamp of Approval blog hop. There is a giveaway. We'll be giving away one complete Stamp of Approval collection. You must comment on all the videos and be subscribed to all the channels to win. Comments must be left by midnight Thursday, September 20th, and prizes will be announced Monday, September 24th. Don't forget to subscribe to the wait list. The link will be listed below so that you will be notified when the collections are available for sale. The link for the next person to hop to will be in my description below, and so will the information on the prizes. Thanks again for joining me. Have a great day.